Without any further ado, let's get started though with what we're going to do tonight. So as I mentioned, we're going to be working with Hand Penned Petals, which is a new set from the new annual catalog. And if you look at it, it's got the line work for 2 clusters of flowers. It's got the background stamps to put in the colors for the 2 leaves, 3 flowers, and 2 clusters of flowers. This, I'm not sure exactly what that is. I think it could be a hydrangea, it could be something else, but we're just gonna play with it a little bit today and go forward from there. So before we got started, oh, let me show you the stamps. Those are the stamps, and then here are the dies. There is a set of 14 dies called Penned Flowers that complements this. And also let me show you something new that's coming out this year. On our photopolymer stamps from Stampin Up, you'll notice something a little bit different, and this is that the stamp image is printed on the case liner right here. You see that? It's printed here. So when you get your stamps, they are right like that inside the case, so we don't have a separate layer that we have to keep up with. So I think that's a great improvement in the packaging, so we're pretty excited about that. Now let me also talk a little bit about using small dies in your Stampin' Emboss machine. Now you see on my table I have the mini Stampin' Emboss machine, which is an excellent investment. If you do not have a Stampin' Emboss machine yet, this is an excellent investment for your tools. Majority of the dies that we have, I think the majority probably would, you could say, fit inside the Stampin' Emboss machine. And in fact, even this one, as large as it is, because it is not as wide as the carrier tray, actually fits in there as well. So there are a lot of things that you can that you can cut out with your dies on this mini Stampin' Emboss machine. So like I said, if you have been wondering about that, let me recommend that is an excellent investment for you to make. So, but before we go further, I want you to notice that here's what I've used. I have a piece of magnetic, I don't know what you would call it, maybe card stock, yeah, yeah, it's gone completely. I've just completely lost train of thought. Anyway, I ordered this from another provider, but it's very tight magnetic, and then it comes with labels. So I've put in here what the label name of the die set is, the stock number, and then this number in the circle is how many pieces, so that I know when I put this up at night that I should have 14 of these pieces. Now, the reason this matters is because this particular set has some small dies. It has 3 dies that work with the leaves. It has 3 dies here and 2 dies here. Now these are not attached to each other, but in the course of me getting ready for tonight, I ended up taking these dies and simply laying them on my cardstock, and I put a piece of washi tape over it. First of all, it helped me pull them off the cardstock, but it also helped me not lose them. So I decided to leave the washi tape on them for the time being and go ahead and just store them that way. But that's just a little hint for you to see how to store some of these things. So let's get moving. So what I did earlier today is I picked up a piece of our pearlescent cardstock. Now, if you have not seen our pearlescent cardstock, this is it's just divine. It's sort of an off-white, and you can see the sheen on it. And so I cut this particular die, which is the detailed inside of the detailed, out of the pearlescent cardstock, and I cut it after I had added it to some of our adhesive sheets. And what I came up with was this. After I took the pieces apart, I set them aside on a piece of paper towel, and then I used my re-inkers and a paintbrush, and I actually painted the flowers in using Blushing Bride and Pale Papaya, Mint Macaron, and Cinnamon Cider to give us this particular grouping of flowers. Now, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use it for, but I'm working on something right now, and we're going to work on that later tonight. Also, while I was playing, I learned that you can stamp on this pearlescent paper with your water-based stamps, but you need to plan on it taking a while for it to air dry. This was stamped with the Stays On ink to give me the background. I used that in my Stamparatus. And then I came back with the stamp images, which this equates to that, this equates to that, and then the leaves I did some things with. And I simply used the water base ink to stamp this in, and then I let it dry probably 2 to 3 hours this afternoon while I was doing something else. And then I also made this small piece, which I said sort of looks like a hydrangea blossom, but I'm not really sure that's what it is. But you can see that's that small piece that I made. Let's see if you can see the details on it. What I love about this piece is that it does do some embossing, and so it gives us some detail right up underneath where these blossoms go. And in fact, that catches the ink a little bit, so you get some sort of shading in there a little bit. And so I want you to see that. So that's some of the stamping that I did this afternoon. Now, to finish up some of the work with the Stampin' Emboss machine, I want to show you some tricks that I've talked about, or I've seen other people talk about, but I had not done it a lot, and I wanted to share this with you because I think it makes it a really, really much more pleasurable process. So first of all, I have a piece of pale papaya cardstock that will fit here, and it is the correct size for this detailed die. I also have a piece of our adhesive sheets. Now, these are the sheets that come, what did I do with it? Here it is, just a second. This is item 152334. These are adhesive sheets. You get 12 sheets that are 6 by 12, 6 inches wide and 12 inches tall. And generally, you're not going to need to use a whole bunch at one time. I've used quite a bit today playing with these different things. But these are great if you're going to do some intricate die cuts that you want to be able to sort of reconstruct later. So let me show you how this works. So I have the cardstock, and I am going to peel off the backing off of one part of it. And it's just, like I said, it's just all this is. And so I'm going to layer this on right here. And then I'm going to peel this up and get the other piece off. Now, what this does, it basically will create die cuts that are self-adhesive when we finish this project. So now that I have that in there, let me make my sandwich, and you all have seen me do this before. So particularly for this, since I've got an extra layer, I'm actually using the embossing base plate. That just seems to work better for when I'm working with cardstock, and like I said, with a little bit of adhesive on it. So we'll turn this over, and you can see this is most of that piece. You know, if you're being much, you know, if your piece is smaller, you just want to kind of pay attention to where everything goes. So let's set that on there. And then we are going to, let's see, I'm going to pull this down here at an angle, and you're going to see why I do this in just a minute. So let's pull this in here. I'm going to go all the way through. I'm going to feel it, and then I'm going to bring it back. And now, because this is such an intricately cut item, and this is such a detailed design, I'm going to slide that off for a second. I'm going to pick this up, and there are my big scissors. I'm just going to cut, there we go. And I'm going to turn this at a 90-degree angle. So it went through the machine like this a minute ago. Now I'm turning it this direction. And the reason I do that is because this is such an intricate cut. This allows the die rollers and the pressure to go on this image a couple of different ways. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Now, before we get too far along, the next thing I want to do is use a piece of, this is the, what's it called? Press and seal. This is the press and seal plastic wrap. So we're going to cut a piece about the same size, and I'm going to lay it right here. I'm going to lay it sticky side up, I think. There we go. And I'm just going to slide this off onto my press and seal so that I don't lose anything. I'm going to pick it back up. I'm going to put it on my mat right here. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take my Take a Pick tool, And I'm going to just simply, very gently take a pick tool into all of these little holes that will help release the die cut. And you're going to see why this is so important, because and I'd say be very gentle with what you're doing, gentle to an extent. You know, you don't want your paper to get stuck up in these holes. These holes are generally going to be in areas that are the waste, or they're not going to show that you've poked on them. But this helps release the paper from the die, which is always important. And it sometimes is a challenge depending on what you're working with. And then I like to come in and just pick that up. And so you use that to pop the die off. So there's the die, that's off. And I'm going to set that right here. And here is my pale papaya piece. And it looks just like the one that I did in Blushing Bride, in Mint Macaron, and in the basic white. Now, you're going to see why I'm doing this in just a minute, all right? So let's set these aside for a second, and I think we are finished with the Stampin' Emboss machine, so let's put that away. Now, this is a high-tech storage system that I use. You've got my 5 plates for my Stampin' Emboss machine. I have a giant jumbo binder clip that I put them on like that and keeps them all together, and it allows them to stand up on the corner of my table and not flip-flop around. Let's put this bad boy, and this I store over here on the shelf. Oh, something just fell. Oopsie. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go back to what I started on earlier this afternoon, and we're going to go ahead and finish this card. This is a standard size card that I've cut at 5.5 by 4 1/4, and then this is a 3 3/4 by, no, 3.5 by 4 3/4, and you can see I've simply taken the corner rounder on all of the edges and on the corners. And so let me grab this ribbon, and we're just going to add a little bit of this lace ribbon around the card, the base. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to show you that I sometimes will tie mine like this, but I have also been known to tape the ends to the back of the paper, the back of the cardstock, and then actually take the loose piece and then tie it in a knot where I want it, because I'm not sure exactly where I want that knot right now, so I'm not going to put any adhesive here yet. But I think I'm going to probably put it over here on the right, just a little bit. And then what I'd like to do is pick up this piece and put it, well, I am all thumbs all of a sudden. Here we go. We're going to put it just above this. And let's see. We're going to bring this up a little bit more. And we're going to trim the edge. There are my little scissors. I got busy beforehand starting picking things up, and then realized I was going to need them all. So let's trim this. And then we will put this on with some dimensionals. Let's find our dimensionals over here. You all know me and my struggle with dimensionals. I ordered a whole bunch this last time I placed an order, and I've gone through them like they're candy. And they kind of are. Now, the way I created this is after I colored all of these pieces. You know, I told you earlier I ran it through on the Stampin' Emboss machine, and then I pulled the pieces apart and I colored them. And then because I had adhesive on all of these pieces, I was able to simply reconstruct that. So we'll put that like that. And then let's come back and use this little piece, and we will find an appropriately sized punch. Where is my double olive? I mean oval. Double olive. Double olive. Oh, can't even talk. Double oval punch. I don't see it. It's not hand. Well, we're just going to cut this into a square. Let's stamp our sentiment, and I'm going to put thanks right there, and I'm going to stamp it in. I'm going to stamp the pale papaya on the pale papaya. Keep it almost monochromatic. By the way, pale papaya is one of the new in colors, and I've talked a little bit about those, and y'all, these colors are just, the only way I can explain it is to say they're delicious, and that is the best way to describe it. They are just beautiful. Well, that's kind of wonky, but we're going to go with it. We're going to make it work. So I'm going to line this, I'm going to trim this up a little bit and make it almost square, and then try to make that almost square. Now, if I were doing this for a swap, and if I were doing this not like this, I would have made sure that that was perfectly square before I did anything else with it. But now I am going to come in and put these little corners and trim my corners off if I can make it go in there. Get my handy dandy, easy peasy handy dandy, super, again, high tech, super high tech, using a post-it note as sort of an extension, a handle. And then I'm going to put this is the triple corner or tri-corner punch, which is a great little punch to have. It's taking a little bit more effort to punch because this still has the piece of adhesive from some of my other work, but that's okay. We're going to work with it. That's the thing about it is, you know, you don't have to start with a brand new piece of cardstock every time you start a project. Pick up what's on your table. Work with what you have. There's no reason to start exactly from square one every time. I'm going to round these off a little bit because it's bugging me. So we'll come back here and we'll take this and we're just going to peel this backing off. I say we're going to peel it off. Let's see how easy that is. Okay, that peels off, and I'll stick that just like that. Then we're going to put all of this onto our card base. Just, is that empty? No? There we go. Well, I am having some kind of mechanical problems tonight. There we go. And we'll stick that on our card base. And there we have a pretty simple, pretty quick little card. Now, I say it's simple and quick. This did take a little bit of time, but frankly, I enjoyed doing it, and it was a little therapeutic. And you know what? This would be something if you wanted to assembly line it. We're going to show a little bit easier process for that now, because when I did stamp and cut all these other pieces out this afternoon, I stamped them out in cardstock so we don't have to do the coloring and letting them dry. So let's pull these over here and let's start with the white background. So to start with the white background, I'm going to actually use my Take a Pick tool and remove parts of the background that parts of the flower. So for instance, this flower right here, I'm going to peel it off, and I'm not going to use these white pieces, and so they can just go aside, can be set aside in the trash, just like that. But I do want to make this flower pink, so we're going to find this piece up here that's pink, and just a second. Now I'm going to place this in here. Now I went ahead and peeled this off of the backing, and I'm placing it in there. Because you're on the Stampin' Seal, it'll peel off of that when we finish this process. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and peel that backing off. If you can't get the backing to come off, you simply will take the Take a Pick tool. I say, there we go. I tell you what, my nails are in horrible condition. These are pre-pandemic problems. My nails have never been great, and something happened during the pandemic. My fingernails did not grow, specifically this my thumbnails, and it's just, you talk about being all thumbs. I feel like I'm all thumbs, especially when I don't have a thumbnail. So any suggestions on how to get your thumb, if you can look at them, they split right here. You can see they split, and then they get a little bit of growth on them, and they get picked and they peel off again. So I have to keep them filed very, very short so that they don't get picked up off of other stuff. So then let's take this larger flower, and we're going to take that because it's the bigger piece. And we're going to go ahead and peel all of these out. Just a second. There we go. It does not want to come off of there. Now I see that I went ahead and did the mint macaron as well, but I'm not certain that I'm going to actually do anything with the mint macaron this time. So let's go ahead and let's make this, let's pick up the pale papaya for this one. Now if you wanted, you could also go through and easily pick up all of the insides of your flowers. I'm not doing that tonight. Love you, but I'm not doing that tonight. And you'll see in a minute when I put this down, it's going to look okay. Because I'm going to put this down on the white. I've cut this another die I should say, cuts just the background, or not the background, but the outline of this cluster of flowers. And so it nests beautifully. And you can see that's actually what I've nested it up on right here. It's actually stacked up on that. So take a pick tool to help nudge these things into place. And then let's see. Okay. Oh, hey, Patience. Your nails always... Oh, I just saw that. It was taking me a while. I forgot to turn on my comments because, you know, I'm just not tech savvy. So my question is, I could either take the green pieces and put them in here, which I think might look a little odd if I were to take out these pieces and put the green ones in there. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to take another piece of the press and seal and trim that and make a little press and seal sandwich. And this is going to hold everything together from the front side. Tell you what, that press and seal, a little bit of it goes a long way, and if you're not careful, it's just going to swarm on you. So all I'm doing is pressing this down like that. So I'm going to come back. Now here is the background piece that I told you about a minute ago that I'd already stamped, or excuse me, I'd already cut. And so we're going to peel this off of here. So we're going to peel the backing off. So let's peel off. Oh, darn it. The adhesive wanting to come off these little pieces that I inserted. They're wanting to come on the press and see I pressed it too hard on the backing. Well, darn it, darn it, darn it. I think I made a mistake. I should have probably, well, we're just going to take this like this. We'll make it work. We're going to make it work, guys. Have no fear. We're going to make it work. So let's peel off this adhesive off of, here's our die piece, and let's find the edge where we can start it. And there's the backing paper. Okay, so we'll start peeling that off. And you know, this is pretty intricate, which, you know, that's not always my strong game, but it's just so rewarding when you put it down that it just looks pretty cool. And I think I made a mistake when I put this together. I should have. Okay, so let's take the white piece. Let's get all the backing out. All the pieces are out now. So we'll lay the white on the white. And so then it's just like filling in, it's like completing a puzzle. So we're just going to come back and put these pieces back in, picking them off my fingers, picking them off the press and seal, and put them back in. Sorry, I didn't get that on there. Oh, y'all, I didn't get that on there very straight either. But you know what? For this purposes, this is to show you the process by which you can go through. It's not necessarily a final production, that's for sure. And don't worry, patience, this is not my swap. Goodness knows. Love y'all, but this would not be my swap piece. This is a lot of work. Although I think these, I don't know what kind of flowers these are, but they kind of look like some of the hibiscus that we've had in the past. And so I just think they're really pretty flowers. And I love the way that fits in there like that. And then we'll come back and put the pink ones in. Now, I say that. That may be easier said than done. Let's go ahead and just get these out of the peach and be done with that, out of the pale papaya. I mean, just, like I said, the press and seal kind of swarms on you at times. Okay, so we're just going to pick these pieces up out of the pale papaya, and we're going to use those instead because, well, you know, if nothing else, we're flexible. We can make it happen. I'm working on swaps right now. Well, good. I finished mine, actually. I hope that we don't end up with more than 12 people in a group, or 14. I've got one group that's got 12 and one group that's got 14. I got a bunch of stuff made. I guess it was Friday. I started working on swaps and got them all knocked out. Feeling rather productive. So I'm sure something will happen that I'll have to redo them or something. I'm sure something will happen because that's just generally the way I roll. So, okay. So the whole purpose of this was to show you how this fits in here. It's not difficult. Well, it shouldn't be difficult, but I'm making it difficult because that's kind of what I do. But I think this is a fun way to stretch the use of your dies. Do, you know, get something a little bit different out of them that we wouldn't maybe normally have. The other thing you could do at this point is, instead of actually backfilling or filling in each of these pieces, you could have simply matted this onto a piece of papaya. So, of the pale papaya. So this is what that's going to look like. Now, the question I have at this point is, so I've got this. I can only fill in so many pieces because there's only so many flowers and whatnot that come apart. So why not take this? Now, this is where I'm going to pick up the mint macaron. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to cut right through here and right through here and pick it up from here and then take that out, and we will stick this on right here. So you can do a number of different things to layer, layer your die cuts, especially with these adhesive sheets. Y'all, I'm telling you. If I had the first clue of how to zoom in, I would, so that you can see how that's going to start to look. The other thing that you can do at this point is there are additional, these are the things I showed you very early that we used through the die, the Stampin' Emboss machine. So we have these other flowers that we could just pick up and layer here. We could come in and just simply place them here. Now, they're not exactly an exact fit for all of them. The smaller ones are. The large one is not, but the smaller ones seem to be a pretty good fit. So we could come over here and put this on here like that. In fact, let's get a little bit of our adhesive and let's do that. Oh, and patience, by the way, This table that you're seeing now, as messy as it is a heck of a lot cleaner than it's been all day. And it's only because the floor next to my table is a wreck. And I will not be sharing that with anybody because it looks like a doomsday situation. Now, one of the things that I figured out also working with these dies is that these small ones, you know that they line up because the interior pieces cut out perfectly. So there's another small one. So let's find. And so what I'm looking at over here is I cut a ton of these this morning, or not this morning, this afternoon. And I just put them in here in a bucket over here. And so I'm digging through trying to find the small ones that I cut. There we go. So we'll do this. Although if you look at these, if you look at this very closely, it looks sort of like that Edward Munch, The Scream. It's got two eyes and the mouth is open. You know, my mind goes strange places when I'm crafting. This is why my husband enjoys leaving me alone when I craft, because it's just weird stuff happens. Cleaned up my mess yesterday. Well, Barb, that's good. I had the dog in here earlier, which I think the weather coming through. Barb, you know, we always talk about the dog. He came in and had his paws down on some of my paper on the floor, my scraps on the floor, and like he was holding them in place. Like nothing was going to get away. I was like, well, good. So I don't know that perfectly matches there, but you get the idea. So this is now going to go on the front of a card when we finish this up. Now, I cut several of the little leaves so we can look at these and see if we can't make these fit on this. I don't know that this is exactly how these are supposed to go, but you know, we're just going to make it work. We're just going to make it work because that's what we can do. Feel kind of like Bob Ross. We're just going to make a little happy leaf lives here. A happy little leaf lives there. No, we're not going to make that work. That is not going to fit. So, this is just to give you an idea of some of the things that you can do with these dies. And I think that the other thing that I'm going to come back and do using these dies, and so here's a piece of got the pale papaya. The other thing we could do, this is the light pale papaya, is you can come back in and just color in the flowers just like this. If you want to color in some of these other flowers. And of course, you can use any of the other colors that we have that go with the designer series paper that comes in this grouping. So let me find my mint macaron blend. Excuse me for reaching. And let's go ahead and just color in these leaves. And you know, it does give you some variation, variation of the colors. So you do see that there are some different colors involved. And then, like there's just some variety. But let's go ahead and get this put together. And then let's talk about a little bit more about what we're going to do on the card bases. So what I've decided to do is, one of my objectives is to become a little bit more efficient in the work that I do, which you can't really tell by looking at the table right now. But it's also like I said, is to become more efficient in what I'm doing. And so one of those things, that means that I'm going to start making card bases, cutting my card bases, and cutting the layers that go under them or that go on top of them. I'm going to go ahead and get those pre-cut, and then all I have to do is like what I did earlier, just assemble the card very quickly. So let me go ahead and let's do this, and let's trim this and trim that. I'm not going to adhere that. So what we want to do at this point is, I don't want to put this on there just as simply as plain as it is. I'd like to get a piece of the designer series paper, which in my infinite wisdom, there we go. I've moved it 14 times. Yeah, here it is. Like I said, I've moved it several times today, making different things happen. So let's pick up this piece of the Designer Series paper. I don't know that we want to use that one. Let's perhaps use this one. And then let's change this base to Pale Papaya. So there we go. So when you have, if you make the bases and you cut up several card bases at one time, then you have the ability to sort of change your mind on the go, which is kind of a fun thing to be able to do. So we start with that, and we start with that, and then this is already at 4 inches, which that's at 4. So we're going to trim this down to 3 3/4 by 5 by 3. Oh, y'all, it's just a disaster area. This is what I'm saying. So this is, I'm gonna have to get my big trimmer out. This isn't gonna work. So 5 by 4, yeah, 5 by 3 3/4. So I'm kind of crazy here. Now I don't have all of my pieces cut like this to make layers. I know that there are a lot of people who do that, but I don't always know exactly what I'm going to want to do with each of my layers, so I'm reluctant to cut too many layers. I think cutting card bases probably is a good start, and maybe even cutting that first layer underneath it or the first layer behind it might be a good start. But I think that when you start getting into your DSP, I'm a little anxious about doing too much of that. So let's put this on here like that. Now I'm pushing this a little bit further down to the bottom. I'm not actually centering this on the piece of the cardstock. I'm going to push it down to the bottom just because I want to do something a little bit different. And yeah, maybe I will center it just because. Okay, but I'm not going to put that there yet. So let's put this on here like so. So it's a little bit different than the earlier piece, the earlier one we did. Now the difference is also, keep in mind that the DSP that we are using here, the Hand-Penned DSP, or I can't remember what the name of the DSP is called, it actually has a white background. It does not have a very vanilla background. So when I began to work with this after I put it on that pearlescent, the pearlescent paper, which has the sort of a very vanilla background, I had to regroup on that. So let's put this in like so, and then we will come back with our white ribbon. And we could actually, at this point, I think that the colors are such that we could actually use this soft succulent ribbon, which is one of the other new in colors, and I'm going to use that because I want the green on there a little bit darker. And that's something to think about, is that when you're using your different ribbons and embellishments, I know it's enticing and we want to have every possible embellishment, every possible ribbon, and it's not always possible to do that. So think about looking at where other ribbons and other things might work for you. So I'm going to try to tie a little bow here. This could be, well, we're just not going to do that. We're going to tie a little knot. We're going to actually, I'm going to tie a bow, but I'm just going to use a lot of ribbon. And it's okay to use ribbon. I mean, that's why you have it. You don't have it so that you can store it and share it with your heirs or your neighbors. I'm going through all of my old embellishments that I bought last year that I haven't used, and it's frankly a little embarrassing, some of the ribbon that I have. So I'm going to make a rule that I'm going to start using more of my ribbon. So, but like I said, this is the soft succulent, which is one of the new in colors, and it looks pretty good. even with the mint macaron, which I'm excited to see that. So then we'll put that on here like this. I am just, we were at a team meeting this weekend, and we had so many Stampin' Seals swarming on them, and there were ugly words said more than once. So there is a simple card, and then we'll come back and add our sentiment on the inside. Now, if I were doing this again, I might actually take this and cut this out of the pale papaya and let that be the background and put that on the white. In fact, we can see what that would look like right now, because I have some more of these pieces cut. And something else to say, and this goes into some of your efficiencies, is while you've got your Stampin' Emboss machine out, go ahead and cut a bunch of these backgrounds out, because you know you'll eventually use them. Go ahead and cut them, and then you've got them while you've got the dies out, while you've got the machine out. Go ahead and do that. It gives you some freedom and some latitude to have some things pre-cut on your desk. And you know, sometimes that's when inspiration strikes, is when you're not really thinking about it, and you might come in and see something, you might go, oh, I wonder how these would look together. Or as you're going to sleep at night. That's when I seem to do a lot of my speculative crafting, is in my head while I'm trying to go to sleep. So let's pop all these little centers out the rest of the way. And then let's see, there's a couple there, a couple there. Let's see. So this just shows you that this is just another way to do this. And you know, there's no wrong way. And actually, when I look at it this direction, I will tell you what I'm seeing. You guys are going to say, my God, she is crazy. When I look at this on my table, this is a fish. This is the mouth of the fish. This is the eye. These are the gills. This is the dorsal fin, and here's the tail fin. So I'm actually, I don't know, like I said, you look at different things different ways, and you see odd things. So that's what I see at this point. But anyway, so that's it for this week's Worktable Wednesday. This is what I had on my table. Like I said, I was playing with this set of the Hand Penned Petals and the coordinating dies. These are going to be available in the pinned flower dies. These will be available in the new annual catalog that comes online first thing next Tuesday on Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, so that you don't overindulge. But go ahead and overindulge, plus trust me. And you know, like I said, do some mass assembly, get a lot of different things out, and see what comes up and see what you can create on your table. You never know what's going to happen when the creative juices get flowing. So with that, I'm going to say good night. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Hope the storms don't keep anybody up tonight, if we actually have them. And otherwise, I will catch you guys on next Wednesday for Worktable Wednesday Live next week. All right, take care and have a great one. Bye-bye.